only place for everything Vikings. 6, 1, 2, Vikings.
Welcome back to the 612 Vikings podcast. I am your host, Dustin, and Drew is not here with us today. Unfortunately, he is sick and kind of recovering from that. But today, we got the man, the myth, the legend. We got Vikings Guy, or John, some of you might know him as. John, introduce yourself for the people that might not know you and kind of what you do.
Yeah, so what I am is employee at US Bank Stadium. I figured it out the other day, about 98 Vikings games in my life, which doesn't qualify me for anything except being crazy and a glutton for punishment. I have a TikTok following of about 13,400 followers. I have a podcast, Vikes Day One, if you don't mind me throwing that out there. If you don't listen to it, listen to it. I have really great guests. And then by my regular job is insurance guy, food truck guy, laundromat and car wash guy. So I do a lot of different things, but so that's what I do. And I'm just a passionate fan of the Vikings, and I like to kind of spread the word of what we got going on. And, you know, these last 2 out of the 3 seasons have been great. Last season was a lot of fun too, even when we lost a bunch of games. I mean, is there anything that really tops that Atlanta game with Josh Dobbs? I mean, that was wonderful.
Yeah, that was pretty much almost the peak of last year with the whole Josh Dobbs effect. I mean, that Saints game was fun, but Atlanta, you throw him in and, you know, he doesn't know anybody's names. He just got here, 72 hours ago, and he plays, pretty well for not knowing anybody or not knowing the playbook. Kevin O'Connell kind of gives him like Madden terms, basically, of, hey, this guy's running a stick, this guy's running a drag.
Yeah.
Here's your reads.
It was wild. Well, and I was sitting in the end of the game. I had to go to a birthday party for a 90-year-old lady at our church. And I'm sitting down in the church. My daughter's sitting next to me, and I have one little AirPod in right here. And I'm just slowly, I'm just slowly kind of going, yes, yes. My daughter figured it out. She goes, what's that in your ear? I go, shh. And so I took my phone and I went into the Apple Notes and I started typing out whatever would happen. And
there you go.
Needless to say, her mother was not impressed with my behavior, but hey, it was a big win, and you know how hard it was for me to just go.
Oh yeah, you can't contain your excitement over that.
Correct. I can't yell out, "Oh, I love you, 90-year-old woman!" Yes.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah, it's I remember for that game I was at work, unfortunately, and back when I had to work weekends, and it was so busy that day, and I'm like, why is it busy? And I was just trying to watch this game on my phone, and it was a good day. It was a good day to get that win in Atlanta. So
the times I need it to not be busy at work is exactly when it's busy.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. It really does.
Yeah. And people don't understand too, like you have a regular job and then you have that TikTok page, or you have Twitter or X, and then you have a podcast that's 2 or 3 times a week, and you're trying to all fit in. Oh, by the way, I have 5 kids and 3 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not complaining, but I think people think, why don't you do this more? I've had somebody say, why don't you do the podcast 3-4 days a week? And I go,
it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, if it was my full-time job, I would pour everything into it. I wish sort of that was my full-time job. It's not that I don't love my jobs, but who doesn't love doing this sort of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. You get to talk Vikings, and it's one of my favorite things about the whole week is talk Vikings with Drew, my co-host, and then whoever I have on as a guest. And
for sure,
not that I don't get to do that at my normal job, but I get to get into the nitty-gritty. More people know what they're talking about here, and it's super fun to talk about Vikings all day. So
and I want to say thank you for having me on. I haven't really officially thanked you, and I'm a huge fan. You know that. And I try to be helpful to people, and you've been very helpful to me. And there's a lot of tricks to this trade that you sort of just pick up. But I'll say this, the YouTube and the TikTok community has been very welcoming to me as kind of a new guy and relatively new. And I just appreciate coming into the lives and talking football. And I respect the hell out of your opinion. You're usually more right than wrong. I have to scold Marissa a lot because she gets sort of negative on her ex. And I said, listen, Marissa, it's all, and she's from by where I live. And I said, listen, you got to keep the positive vibes up because the universe feels that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she thinks I'm crazy, and she always gives me a hard time for giving her shit on Twitter. But I do because, like I said, when she starts to spiral, it's hard to pull her out of it.
Yeah, no, and that's part of the Vikings fandom is, one thing goes bad, it's kind of just goes downhill, and like the whole for example, like the Darisaw situation, he's playing great, and then all of a sudden that knee injury or calf or whatever it was, and then we're like, oh great, there goes the season. But the Vikings, they pull us right back up and trade for Cam Robinson, and he's been
Yeah.
pretty good. Nothing great, nothing terrible. He's just kind of there, and that's just kind of the Vikings as we know it. So
If you're not hearing his name a lot, I think that's a good thing.
yeah,
I think
exactly.
because and I'll say this, seeing the ownership that we have with the Twins and sometimes the Timberwolves, it's really nice to have an ownership group. And I saw Ziggy a couple weeks ago and talked to him, and I just thank him every time I see him for doing what he does, because he just absolutely loves his football team. He's a
Mhm.
winner. He's competitive. He's won at everything he's ever done, and he would love nothing more than deliver a championship. And when we need guys, he just finds them. Like this Cam Robinson thing. Who trades for a starting left tackle in the middle of the season?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
He just does it. And I've been to TCO a number of times, been lost in TCO Performance Center a number of times because it is cavernous and like what is it, like almost 2 million square feet? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
yeah, and I'm just like that place there, funded by the Wilfs. They've got a wonderful thing going, but that's the commitment to winning. The cryo chambers, the workout areas, the full nutrition program.
Yep.
One of my funniest moments ever was Byron Murphy talking about one of the favorite things he loves at the stadium, and at the TCO, and it's that he doesn't have to buy lunch when he goes to work out now.
Yeah, because in Arizona they had to pay for their lunches. They were,
Yes,
it's kind of like back in school where you had to kind of have some funds to pay for your lunch, and if
yeah.
you're, what happens if you don't? I mean, I know they get paid millions, but what if I don't know? I guess that's not really a scenario, but
His family said he loved that. I talked to some of his family, and the fact they would just debit your check, like it
yeah.
would be, like you have your FICA, your Medicare, whatever. It just showed his meals, and
Oh,
I mean, you know what, Bidwell's, you're millionaires, probably billionaires, and you're charging these guys for meals.
I know. That's,
You know,
I
like
mean,
University of North Dakota. I have a friend whose son plays for University of North Dakota, plays hockey for him, and every meal they eat during the season between the hours of 8 a.m. and say 5 p. That's all team meals provided by a
wow.
chef. And they do that because nutrition is important, and they want to make sure they're
Yeah.
monitoring and keeping track, and the caloric input is right for the workouts they're doing. And that's the
Hmm.
difference between winners and losers. And for a lot of years, you're a little young to know it, but that Winter Park was a DUMP. And the
Sure.
Vikings were sort of the joke of the NFL when it came to training facilities and all the different amenities. And of course, the Metrodome, I mean, we loved it in a way, but in reality,
It
I mean,
was our dump.
yeah, correct. I remember sitting up there. I was at the playoff game in 2000, Cardinals and Vikings, and we whomped them. But I'm at the top of the Metrodome, bought this terrible seat. I'm in the highest part of the stadium, and they have one of these steam pipes from the Metrodome running across the top of my seat, and one of the brackets is broken, and I'm clanging
Oh,
that bracket all game, and it's just creating terrible noise. And the people there were like, "Yeah." I mean, so it was. I mean, it was a dump. And I actually had
yeah.
tickets. I had tickets to the day that the Metrodome collapsed.
Ooh.
I still have
Um,
them. They're four. I have four paper tickets. It's got Kevin Williams on it,
really?
and
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And so I held on to them because, the day the Metrodome
Yeah.
collapsed, right?
Right. Yeah, you got
Yeah,
to keep those. I mean, those are
yeah,
going to be worth, if not already, lots of money, lots of money.
yeah. I got to frame them
So,
up. So
oh yeah, there you go. Well, before we get into like the nitty-gritty Viking stuff here, I do want to tell you guys, make sure you guys go follow John or that
thank
Vikings
you.
guy. He on TikTok, great stuff, great Vikings content, has a lot of the inside scoops as well. So if you guys are interested in that, he's on his lives giving us some scoops and, a lot of stuff that you guys probably don't know about. And, you know, great follow, 13,000 followers, and more. Hopefully the TikTok ban doesn't go through because, what we put out, not to boost my own ego, but,
Yeah,
we put out some of the best, I think, Vikings content that Vikings fans have on that app. So,
yeah.
yeah, make sure you give him a follow on TikTok, Vikings Guy, and then, yeah, great stuff over there.
Yeah,
So,
Vikings guy day one. Thank you for saying that. And
and the
between
podcast,
and
yeah,
yeah, yeah, between you and Leighton and Marissa, there's what I told Amy Hockert on the pod last week, from KMSP. I said, there's the big J journalism, and I don't try to be that.
no,
What I try to be is just kind of a fill in from a fan's perspective. And one of the things that you were talking about having scoops, I couldn't figure out. Were you at the Cardinals game?
I was not. I had to
Okay.
miss that, unfortunately.
The Cardinals game, the crowd was off, right?
Yeah,
It took a lot of time for the fans to get in. which is really unusual on a regular season game when you have the season ticket holders. I mean, they're usually, by and large, most of the fans are in by 20 to 12 or whenever the game starts,
Oh,
20 minutes
right.
ahead of time. All right. Because they don't want to miss showtime, and there's things the Vikings do, the national anthem, that kind of thing. You
Right.
know, we got to the about 25 minutes before the game, and I think there were still 26,000 fans who hadn't entered. Oh, yeah.
That many,
Oh, it
really?
was crazy. And then I'm sitting there in the third quarter, and the crowd was sort of sitting on its hands all day. And I caught a little hell about this because I criticized the crowd, but the crowd was sort of sitting on their hands, and it was what I like to call an Instagram crowd. You know, everybody's doing the pretty pictures and playing their games and whatever, just anything but football. And to be honest, the Vikings didn't give them a lot offensively to cheer about. But in the third quarter, the Vikings go 3-and-out, and the crowd lets loose this boo on the offense. And to be honest, I almost lost my shit because, can I say that here?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I almost lost my shit because this is a 9-2 team. This isn't a 4-8. Our coach is getting fired next week. He hasn't talked to the GM in 4 months. It isn't one of those
Yeah.
deals. It's that your team's in second place. If Detroit wasn't having a once in a lifetime season, you'd probably be in first place by 3 games. That's not what this is. And for you to, so I started thinking, why are they booing? And it took till about the beginning of the fourth quarter for the crowd to really come around. And that's never how it is. You've been to those games. I mean, usually the crowd's pretty engaged from the beginning to the end.
Even that Monday night game last year against the Bears, that was the most boring game I've ever been to, and still that crowd was pretty electric. So, yeah, it takes a lot for them to not be that way.
So I have a friend that works at this, sort of kind of wrap this up on this end. I totally agree with you, and it was one of those games. And so what happens is, I researched within, I don't want to say where, I have a source, but I researched the transfer rate of tickets for that game. It was over 40%. And it was higher
Wow.
for the Bears game last year. Because, you know, when the teams aren't good and things are going sideways, people will try to get the money they can out of them. They're not going to go
Yeah.
drive to the cities from Sioux Falls to watch their team maybe lose or just whatever, right?
Yep.
They try to recoup some of their season ticket money. And so it was over like a 45-46% transfer rate at the Cardinals game. So what did we have in there? No fault to them. They were a new crowd. They were not most of the season ticket holders. They were people who, hey, I got a chance to go to a game. And it felt like a
Yeah.
preseason crowd. And you know what, Dustin? It was a
Yeah.
preseason crowd. I hate to say
Yeah.
that. I'm not bad mouthing them. They just didn't know what to do. It's
Well, you
protocol, and
can
they,
kind of
you
tell
know,
on TV though that it was very quiet.
yeah,
Halftime or just before halftime, you could hear those boos, and then late third quarter, fourth quarter, that's when they really start picking up, and that's kind of where you get your money, I
yeah,
guess. But at the same time, I didn't really look at or the Vikings Cardinals game tickets, but I'm guessing that they were probably cheaper too. That's probably why,
yeah,
a lot of transfer rate, but
yeah.
still we gotta do better as Vikings fans.
Agree. And you know, and I said in my pod too, I'm not somebody who sits and ranks fandom because I hate that where someone says, "Well, I have 1,700 pieces of clothes and I've been to 7,000 games and I've traveled here." Listen, we're all fans. It doesn't have to be a measuring contest. I mean, I'm proud of the fact that I've been to nearly 100 games, but for me, that's more just because I love it. It's not because I want everybody to know that. It's just
No,
in
right.
my world, it sort of like says, yeah, you know what? He's seen a lot of football. That's all it means. And he's
Hmm.
been blessed enough to be in an opportunity to be able to go to games and to go to games, not only go to games, but get paid to go to games. Like when I got hired in
Yeah.
the interview, the lady who I'll never forget in the interview, she says, you know, really the only downside of the job is that you have to come to every Vikings game.
And that's not a downgrade.
That's what I said.
That's
I go,
nothing bad.
it's kind of like someone says, "What are your weaknesses?" And you go, "Well, I work too much, and I'm committed to the company too much, and sometimes I come in early." That kind of thing. Like, what are the Michael Scott weaknesses?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what this was. And so I'm blessed to work with a very great team at US Bank Stadium. I think I'm going to be working the Legacy Gate next week, which is the biggest gate in the whole
Okay.
place because one of the
Yeah.
ladies is gone. So if anybody comes, come say hi to me. I will have my white outfit on. It's going to be extravagant, and you'll see
Okay.
me. So if you see me, I'll just say this: it's like a tuxedo. That's what I'll have on. So
Ooh, I
I know,
can't wait
Rick.
to see
Well,
that.
it's the whiteout, man. You
Yeah.
gotta go up a level, and
Yep.
so I got some things going on.
I mean, for the YouTube audience, for those of you watching this, you guys can kind of see John kind of, halvesies doing the whiteout right now, kind of showing off a little
Yeah,
bit. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna see what tickets look like around like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. See if they drop down a little bit because they're a little higher right now. But
yeah.
if they drop down, I'm definitely gonna be hitting up that whiteout game for
I got a
sure.
guy that's moving a couple tickets. If he decides he's truly going to do that, I'll let you know. Or
Okay,
he might want someone to go with him. So if
sure.
you are interested, let me know. I'll figure out the
Hell
prices
yeah.
and we'll hook it up, because those games are always fun and the Vikings go all out. And that field, when they paint the end zones white and the logo
Are they
white,
doing that this year? Are they
I,
painting the end zones
I
white?
haven't heard otherwise.
Because
I
last year they kept it purple, and it kind of made me
Yeah.
mad.
I think
But
the NFL, as long as they put the border around it, I'll follow up on
right,
that, but I think they will.
okay.
And those white helmets, man. I showed a guy
Oh,
today, and he's been a Viking fan his whole life. He's like 60, and he said, "My God, those uniforms and that helmet, it's
we've never had a
remarkable."
white helmet before.
We've always had, and I love the classic purple helmet, but
Yep.
yeah,
It's nice. It's nice. I want to get like a little replica. I have, I don't know where it is now. It's stuck in my cubby here,
yeah.
but I have, a little replica helmet, and I gotta get that white one. That one is sick. I can't wait to see that in person
I
if
want
I
the
do
big
end up
white
going.
one, and I want it signed by Jefferson. So
That would be amazing.
yeah,
That's a good like autograph helmet too, because it's all white. You can get so many autographs on that.
correct.
So
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
um
I agree.
yeah. I do want to ask you too. I want to get your opinion on this because I'm gonna
Mhm.
have, for those of you that are listening as well, I'm gonna be having Paul Allen on my show tomorrow. Hopefully Drew will be ready for that one too. But I'm gonna ask him the same question, and I asked Najee Thompson this as well. What in your perspective, what do you think has led to the Vikings' success this year? Because a lot of people, even Vegas, had them at 6.5
Yeah,
wins, I think it was, and if we win Monday night, we've doubled that pretty much.
yeah.
So, what kind of has led to this Viking success, and you know, I guess yeah, what has led to that so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a number of things. Of course, in my mind, racked my brain. What do I think is the main driver? Here's what
Hmm.
I'll say. If you go to my TikTok, not that I'm driving people there, but if you go there, I picked the Vikings this year in July or August to win 10 games. And people at the time said I was crazy. And they asked me why. I said, well, there's about three factors I look at. Number
Hmm.
one, a guy like Shanahan did not want to let Darnold go. And you can say what you want about Shanahan. He's a high level guy. He's a guy that is a top 3 to 4 coach in the NFL. His
Yeah.
dad is if he's not, he should be a Hall of Famer. His father, because his
Hmm.
dad was remarkable. A little creepy looking, but a very good coach.
Right.
He kind of looked like Norman Bates from Psycho. If you Google that, you'll see it. It's crazy. Love Mike
Go
Shanahan, but
look it
that's who
up.
he was. But I think that I kind of underestimated Darnold, but I thought he's got a good enough arm, because I watched a lot of Darnold over the years, surprisingly, because someone said when he was in Carolina, oh, he's going to end up in the Vikings. And I went, whatever.
Mm.
But I've kind of watched him. I'll tell you what, you couldn't have known it then, but these throws that he makes, just pure arm talent. His arm gets hit on Sunday, and he still throws it, what, 45 yards in the air,
Yeah.
and it
Just
wasn't
hangs that
completely
up.
correct. Correct. So there's that. I think. Secondly, I said from the very beginning, this defense last year was emerging. The pickups of Van Ginkel, and I went back and watched Van Ginkel film. I watched Grenard. I don't think we could have predicted how him and Cashman and Grenard would be these players, but they
Hmm.
fit this system so well. And I trust Brian Flores. I mean, I feel bad that he's getting kind of blackballed by the NFL, because he is a really solid football coach, and he's probably, like anybody's made mistakes, but so there's the defense.
Yeah.
And I think finally, we've been fortunate, and I don't believe in knocking on wood and all that kind of jazz. By and large, this team has stayed mostly healthy.
Yeah.
And when you look at teams like the Packers and the Lions, and especially the Niners, they haven't been. And I've said this from the beginning. This all the NFL season is a war of attrition, and whoever can stay the healthiest, oftentimes at the right time, will win some games. And I think, you look at this. What's remarkable? There was a stat the other day. I think the usage of our skill players cannot be understated. In the
Hmm.
history of the Vikings, and you think back all of the great wide receivers, Ahmad Rashad, Sammy White, Anthony Carter, Leo Lewis, a lot of guys, Has, I'll just keep going. Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Jake
Right.
Reed. Go back, all those wide receivers. I was thinking of Hassan Jones. If you remember, I don't know if
Mm.
you're pretty young, but Hassan Jones. You got
I've
all
heard
these
that.
guys. Yeah, but none of them had ever had the stats that Jordan Addison, touchdown wise, and Jefferson had last weekend. Think about
Right.
that. I mean, you got Carter and Moss, Hall of Famers, never did that together. And granted, Moss kind of caught Carter at the end of his career, but when Carter and Moss were together in 98, 99, 2000, they were very good. Carter was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Addison really has the potential to be. I mean, I think he's already I think he's probably the third best, fourth best wide receiver in the division, just because we have a ton
Okay.
of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you were going to pick I'll just say this and I'll let it go. But if Jordan Addison was on probably 15 other teams, he'd be the number one.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people say too, is
Yeah.
he has a skill set to be a number one. And like last year when Jefferson went down, he kind of surprised me. I really didn't think that he could, be as effective as a wide receiver one, because I thought he was a little smaller.
Yeah.
You jam him, that plays over for him. But no, he impressed me a lot. The Packers game last year, the 49ers game, a couple other games too. He's kind of impressed me, and it kind of sucks that he is a wide receiver too, but it also is beneficial that he's on the Vikings to be
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, I think I saw I think it was on Twitter that it's the first time in Vikings history that the Vikings have had two 100-yard receivers in one game.
Yeah.
With Jefferson and Addison. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think it was two wide receivers who had 100 yards plus 2 touchdowns each.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. Yeah, because I was
gonna
like,
say.
I went through the stats. I go, with all those guys, how could that be? And so that's the number of factors I think that does it. But I think I said to someone the other day, a Detroit fan, because they flood I mean, 60% of my followers on TikTok are Lions, Packers, and Bears fans.
Oh yeah.
And I said to him, I go, I'm gonna start scolding all of you for this because I've been warning you about this for 4 months. When Hawkinson, Addison, Jefferson, Jones, Oliver, when all those guys are clicking like they are, who are you gonna cover? Go ahead and double or bracket JJ. See what happens. Jordan
Yep.
Addison, wipe your ass up and down the field. Oh, and by the way, we got Hawkinson. Go ahead and cover Hawkinson. You gonna leave a linebacker down? What if we do a 2 linebacker set, empty out the backfield, and we send Josh Oliver on a post?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen? I mean, Josh Oliver. Say what you want about whatever. He's a number 2 on our team right now because we have Hawkinson. I thought when
Well,
Hawkinson came back, maybe he'd be done. Thank God he isn't. He's fast. He's
no.
got good hands. He's huge.
Yep. And I actually was thinking too, like when Hawkinson was out for that first half of the season, why were we starting Johnny Munn? Why didn't we start Josh Oliver? I can't say we would have won more games because we've won enough games without Hawkinson there, but to be that much more effective though, Oliver,
Yeah.
everybody kind of sees him as a blocking tight end, but
Right.
he has hands. He can catch the ball. We saw that on Sunday. That one play that he had, he ran basically 60 yards in that total play alone. So he ran
Yeah.
from one end of the field to the other. So
Yeah.
it kind of baffled me why he didn't start over
Yeah.
Johnny Munn, but they really like Johnny Munn and he played all right, but to be
Yeah. I
that much
think
more effective.
Johnny Munt is a O'Connell guy, right? He
Yeah.
was in LA. He knows the system. He's solid. If you need a few yards here or there, there's a place for Munt, but I think when you're looking at explosive plays, Munt isn't going to be your guy. Munt's the guy that'll leak out of the backfield and catch that 6-7 yard pass when no one's expecting it.
Yep.
We have an embarrassment of riches, and I think ultimately too. You look at what Kevin O'Connell's doing as coach over his first 3 seasons. I mean, it's Bud Grant like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you
They
look at Bud
almost look
Grant when he
similar.
took over. I mean, what did Grant get to the Super Bowl in his 3rd year? His 3rd or 4th year?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because it was
Really soon.
69, and I think he was hired in 66 maybe. So it was 3-4 years. And you look at the number of close games, because that's the mark of a good coach, is how many close games they're winning. And in close
Yeah.
games, the 2 of the last 3 seasons, he's been way above the Mendoza line, like embarrassingly good. And so that was a long answer, but I don't think I have to say, I don't know that I ever in my wildest dreams thought that Sam Darnold would throw 5 touchdowns in a game and we'd be 11-2.
No,
And I
I
don't
think a
think
lot of
anybody
people
did. I
thought
don't
that
think
at
I'm
all.
on the outlier there. Did you think that?
No, I mean, when we first signed him, I think I was pretty much with every other Vikings fan of why are we signing Sam Darnold? We have JJ McCarthy or whatever. Well, that would have been before we got JJ, but still,
Yeah.
it's like
But we're going to draft somebody. We figured that.
no, right, exactly, and
Yeah.
it was kind of tough, but there was a small crowd, and like in the back of my head, I was like, okay, maybe Sam Darnold can be good in this offense. I mean, there's no excuse why he can't be. And I put during training camp, I think it was maybe the first or second day that Sam Darnold was lighting it up, and I put uh I could see this season being something along the lines of like the 2017 season where Sam Darnold can be like that Case Keenum type and the defense is really good and just a magical year that we can have. And, lo and behold, here we are at 11-2, with Sam Darnold. Who would have thought? Nobody really thought that except maybe the extremists, the very positive guys, the optimists, but
the Kool-Aid drinkers. Yeah, well,
yeah,
it's interesting that you bring up that 17 season because the escapability of Darnold has been a nice surprise, his physicality that way. But I'll say this, Sam Darnold is a top 5 NFL arm talent. I mean, that throw he made in Chicago to Hawkinson, good Lord. That throw to Jefferson in the end zone where he had to put it in the right spot.
Yep.
I'm telling you, Case Keenum ain't making that throw. Kirk Cousins doesn't even get anywhere close to that throw.
No, and Kirk Cousins I thought was a really accurate guy too, and I don't know, just the first year of Sam Darnold, he's got it down. And another one that comes to mind too that doesn't get enough recognition is the first third down that we had on Sunday, the one to Addison to convert. That one was, pressure in his face, getting that out, just right on the money, just impressive.
Yeah,
you got to feel good about that.
Well, the more you ride Darnold on the blitz, he wrecks you. He absolutely takes advantage of you, and that's a lot of arm talent. Because when he gets hit or when he's close to getting hit, he can whip the ball in there. And I guess I knew he had an arm, but I watched some of the throws he makes. Because people said, well, you got Sam Darnold. What's going to happen in the playoffs? Let's not act like Jared Goff's been this world beater in the playoffs. He's gone to the Super Bowl. He hasn't won the Super Bowl. And in fact, the Super Bowl, he was like a ghost. I thought he was a shadow on the ground. Where was he? So I don't know. I had Lions fans come into my thing today and they talk all kinds of shit, and which is fine. They're the lead dog right now. And he says, well, he said, I didn't even think you win 6 games this year. You think you're going to come into Ford Field and win? I go, yeah. We had you clipped at home without Hawk and Cash. So, keep talking your shit. We'll keep winning. We'll keep, like I say in my pod, we're going to keep getting fat. And if it comes down to that last game, I'll take my chances. Good luck with the angry Bills team this weekend, by the way, Lions.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a fun game to watch, too.
Yeah, that's a hornet's nest the Lions are walking into. Good luck.
Yeah, and, you brought up earlier, too, about, teams staying healthy and all that. The Lions, they're what, 12-1, but they're losing a lot of key defensive pieces on that defense that, to start, really wasn't that good to begin with.
Right.
So it's a ticking time bomb for that defense to kind of just not be, I guess, good anymore. And, that offense is going to have to keep up. And, with the Bills, Josh Allen is your front runner for MVP, for my money. So, good luck with that. In week 18, we'll see you guys then and just kind of see what this Vikings team is all about. Can you exploit that Lions defense? Fire with fire, like Brian Flores said the first time around. So it'll definitely be interesting week 18.
Well, and I think to kind of belly up to that, when you look at the Lions, they score a lot of points. But if the Lions have to go outside, which they may have to go to Philly if things don't go their way, or if they have to play outside games with that offense, if their offense can't score enough to keep up, then they're in trouble, because if that defense isn't lights out. And I'm not high on the Packers, and I'm not high on Jordan Love. I'm so tired of these butt sniffers that are all up in Jordan Love's business, saying how great he is. He makes as many bad throws, underthrows, overthrows, interceptions as any quarterback I've ever seen. And if I hear one more comparison to Favre, I'm literally going to throw up. I mean, he is no Brett Favre. He throws off his back foot, a bad habit he got from Aaron Rodgers. The problem is Aaron Rodgers was deadly accurate, and Jordan Love is a quarter of that guy. Got a great arm, but can't throw it in the spots.
Yeah. I mean, last year, the last half of the season, he made some pretty impressive throws, but those aren't here this year. I just haven't seen really. I can maybe count on one hand how many times he's had an impressive throw that I've seen. So.
Yeah. Well, and in a big spot, I mean, maybe that'll turn around. Maybe that'll turn. And I would say that Detroit Packers game, the Packers and they didn't. They missed a few calls. But it's not like the Packers. Someone said on my live, well, the Packers defense played really well. Dude, you gave up 34 points. That's well. You held the Lions to their average for the season.
Yeah, right.
That's not. I mean, if you're going to win championships there, Green Bay, that's not
That's
going to
not the
do
way
it.
to do it. No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Breaks my heart to see them in third place. Just breaks my heart.
Oh yeah, I could. Yeah, just it sucks. It sucks, man.
That's what I say to them too. I say, you guys run your mouth pretty good for a third place operation.
Yeah, and really, everybody had them possibly winning the division, finishing second place, which I guess could technically still happen, but I don't see it. But
they still have higher Super Bowl odds than us.
Somehow, some way they do. I don't get that, but I don't know. And then you got the Bears at the bottom feeders like usual.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. You get the Packers at US Bank Stadium. That's the kill shot.
Yep.
That's the kill shot for their high seed season, and they're going to end up going to Philly or wherever, and we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to end up anything like it did last year. I mean, obviously we have our QB1 actually starting. We're going to be healthy, hopefully, knock on wood, but
yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for that game. The tickets for that game are super expensive too. So
it's the best game at US Bank Stadium every season, whether they're good or bad. It's just it's all the environment's electric. The people are into it. There's a lot of opposing fans. It's usually some kind of night game. It isn't this year, so the liquor's flowing. Those 3 and 7 o'clock game, mans, they're meat grinders for the staff. I mean, you got give people all day to drink, and a lot of those are sandwiched up against a day where they don't have to go to work. Those holidays, that's the perfect storm at US Bank Stadium.
Hell yeah. I love Viking and Packer games. So
yeah, it's good time.
Hell yeah, awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you being on the pod today.
Yeah.
We talked some really good Vikings talk, just awesome casual stuff. I love that. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys go follow Vikings Guy on TikTok. Great stuff. Live pretty much daily at night.
Yeah, I mean every night, 8:30, 9 o'clock Central Time. Yeah, we get on there. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour and a half. I'm a very busy guy. I try to get on there every night as a commitment to my people. And so if you come on and if they subscribe, it's $3 a month to subscribe. I do bring people into my lives. I don't bring everybody in because you got to kind of monitor the kind of knuckleheads you get. But I kind of figure if someone's going to give me $3, that's the cost of admission to come in, and I'll never charge you that, Dustin, because I like you and you're a square guy. But if you want to subscribe, I won't stop you either. But that's kind of the price of admission to kind of weed out the ding dongs that come in there, because I will get some people who, just are nasty folks, and they're not coming after me. They're just sort of sad, pathetic, depressed people, and I compassion for them, but I just don't want them messing with. We have a good thing going. People come in, and you know this too. People come in and they enjoy the lives, and we have a positive environment, and we talk a little shit, but every NFL, and this is for the people that want to join too, the people that come in, you're welcome from any team. And I ask you, who do you cheer for and what do you think of your team? And I have Steelers fans, Raiders fans, Niners. They all sort of come in there. Cowboy fans get a bit unbearable, but they've been church mice this year, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's a nice, interesting perspective that some of those fans have, actually, especially if they're, I don't want to say like fair weather, but they know what's going on. They don't have to be homers. They don't have to drink, their own Kool-Aid or anything. So
they're just realists to it. Yeah. I mean, they just like a team, and they're not like, I will say sometimes I drink the Kool-Aid a bit. I did book my hotel in New Orleans, by the way.
Oh, did you really?
I did.
That's awesome.
Listen, if I'm going to talk positive vibes, and I got to put my money where my mouth is, it was like $1,700 for 4 days, whatever. I don't know what the ticket for the Super Bowl will cost me, but if I got to take a mortgage out, I got room.
Hell yeah, there you go. Hey, hopefully the Vikings are in that game and not playing in the stupid Pro Bowl like they do every year. So,
well, imagine the TikTok live from the Super Bowl, man.
Oh, you know how awesome that would be? You would get hella viewers.
Oh my God. I mean, it would be, I do it from the draft and I had 2,000 views. What would it be if I was at the Super Bowl?
Dude, that and in your Vikings gear too, like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So.
All
right, guys. Like I said, go follow Vikings Guy on TikTok, and go support him in his lives. Give him a follow. Boost him up higher than 13,000. That's too low. That is way too low. So
yeah, you got to swing some love to Paul Allen tomorrow, because I run into him at the stadium, and he's run into me a couple times. But a funny story, real quickly, if I can. The first time I ever really met Paul Allen, he was doing a remote down at Mankato. And it was right during the Favre signing. They'd farmed him, but they were signing him, but he wasn't at training camp yet. Have I told you this story?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so in the old days, would happen to get a hold of a little bit of bootleg jerseys.
Okay.
And so I had a guy, I don't know, China, probably somewhere, but I said, can you get me an away Favre jersey, like immediately? And so within 3 days, he had me a Favre nameplate and everything. Wow. And so here I come strolling up by Paul Allen. And I used to be almost 300 pounds. So put that in perspective. So I'm just, and he goes, Paul Allen, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe it. Well, we have a Brett Favre sighting at training camp. It appears that he's not quite in playing shape.
Oh, no.
And I went, you son of a bitch.
That
and
is
it was
funny.
so funny. So if you want to throw that out to him and see what he says, because he said, I know this guy, he was in Mankato wearing a bootleg white Favre jersey. And he said, yeah, he's not quite in playing shape. And he was a chubby guy. Maybe he'll remember it. I mentioned him one time in the media elevator at US Bank Stadium, but it was a great Paul Allen story. And I love him. He's great. He's just such a good guy.
Yeah, I met him at the Bills game a couple of years ago, and he's really cool. I met him at the draft party too, this past year. So great guy. I'll definitely bring up that story, see if he remembers, and I'll let you know how that turns out.
I can't wait. Great. Good for you too, dude. I got Adam Rank again Friday for Vikings Bears. Yeah, again? So the pod will come out on Saturday. Yeah, so awesome. He pops into my lives every so often and says hi and.
Really?
Yeah. He'll just pop in. Yeah, he does, and he just pops in and says hi, how's it going? And he said he'll go live with me maybe this week, but he definitely will be on the pod. It'll be out Saturday, but on the pod Friday. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Also, guys, make sure you guys go subscribe to his podcast as well. What's it called again?
Vikes Day One. And if you Google Vikes Day One, it's the first thing that pops up. I Google it every day to make sure it pops up. So.
Awesome.
I'm ridiculous.
That's good. Yeah. You got to do that.
Yep.
Awesome. You have a good night, man, and we will see you. We'll catch you around another time.
God bless you. Merry Christmas. Skol.
Skol.